We've all been in that moment. Your heart is racing, someone puts you on the spot, and suddenly the right words seem just out of reach. You want to be confident, but instead you second guess yourself. What if I told you that confidence isn't about having all the answers? It's about how you respond when you don't. Today, I'm going to show you practical confidence is not knowing everything. It's staying calm when you don't. Too often we think that confidence means having every answer, having the perfect comeback ready, never hesitating, never stumbling. We imagine confident people as the ones who can walk into a room, take over a conversation, and never let anyone see them sweat. But the truth is, that kind of image is an illusion. Real confidence is not about control over everything. It is about control over yourself. It is about recognizing that you won't always have the answer. You won't always have the perfect response, but you can always choose how you carry yourself in that moment. The calmness you bring to uncertainty is what makes people lean in, listen, and respect you. Think about it. How many times have you been in a conversation where someone asked you something unexpected and instantly your brain started racing? The fear of not knowing takes over, and in that panic, we either over-explain, shut down, or fumble through words that don't reflect who we are. In that moment, the problem isn't the lack of knowledge. It's the lack of presence. It's the inability to sit with that silence, to pause, and to remind yourself that it's okay not to know everything. Because here's the secret: the most confident people in the room aren't the ones who speak the loudest or the fastest. They're the ones who know how to breathe, to slow down, to let their tone match their calmness, and to show that uncertainty does not have to equal weakness. When you meet someone who truly carries themselves with confidence, notice what they do. They don't rush. They don't scramble for words just to fill the silence. They allow pauses because they understand that a pause is not a gap to be feared, but a space that adds weight to what comes next. They acknowledge what they don't know without shame because their worth is not tied to having every answer. They know that respect is earned not by perfection, but by composure. Confidence is not the absence of uncertainty. It's the ability to manage it gracefully. Imagine a lawyer in a courtroom who is asked a question they didn't expect. They don't panic. They don't blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. Instead, they take a breath, maybe tilt their head slightly, and say with steadiness, "That's a good question. Let me consider the best way to answer that." In that moment, the courtroom does not see a lack of preparation. They see authority. Why? Because calmness is contagious. If you're steady, people trust you. If you're calm, people lean in. If you don't let pressure own you, others believe you can handle it. The same applies in everyday life. Whether it's a job interview, a tough conversation with a friend, or a disagreement at work, confidence is not measured by whether you had the right words scripted ahead of time. It is measured by whether you can stay grounded when your script runs out. It's the ability to remind yourself that your identity is not on trial in this moment, only your response is. And your response is always in your control. You can breathe, you can pause, you can redirect, you can admit you don't know without it being an apology. That is confidence. Many of us spend our lives trying to prepare for every possible scenario so we'll never be caught off guard. But life doesn't work that way. You can't rehearse every question, every situation, every challenge. At some point, you'll be tested without a script. And here's the gift in that: you don't need a script. What you need is the belief that you can handle yourself no matter what comes. Confidence is not memorization, it's regulation. It's learning how to regulate your emotions, your body language, your tone, so that no matter the storm around you, you are not swept away by it. That steadiness is what people admire most. Think back to someone you admire for their confidence. Chances are, it's not because they always had the smartest answer. It's because they had a presence that made you feel they were in control. They could admit when they didn't know something, and yet you still trusted them. They could pause before answering, and you still leaned in to hear what they would say. That's because true confidence doesn't come from knowledge, it comes from trust. And the first person you need to trust is yourself. If you can trust yourself to remain calm under pressure, others will trust you too. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is changing the question from, "Do I know this?" to, "Can I handle this?" Because if confidence is based on knowledge, it will always be shaky. You'll never know everything, and there will always be someone who knows more. But if confidence is based on how you handle the unknown, then you've built it on something unshakable. You don't have to compete with anyone else's knowledge. You just have to own your presence in the moment. That's where real authority comes from. This is why some of the most respected leaders, speakers, and professionals are not the ones who dominate with endless talking, but the ones who create space, who listen, who give measured responses. They are confident enough not to prove themselves with words alone. They let their composure do the talking. And when they don't know something, they own it. They might say, "That's something I'll have to look into." Or, "I don't have that answer right now, but I'll find out." And what happens? People respect them more, not less. Because honesty wrapped in calmness is far stronger than false certainty wrapped in panic. Confidence is not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the steady one when the room gets loud. It's not about always being right. It's about showing that you can remain strong even when you're unsure. It's not about impressing others with how much you know. It's about influencing them with how much control you have over yourself. That is what draws people to you. That is what makes people want to listen. And that is what transforms ordinary communication into powerful connection, dull tools, and real strategies you can use to respond with clarity, calmness, and strength, no matter the situation. The way you respond shapes how others see you more than the words you choose. Every single one of us has been in situations where we replay a conversation in our heads afterward, thinking, "I should have said this instead," or "Why didn't I respond differently?" We fixate on the exact words as if the magic of confidence is hidden in some perfect phrase. But here's the truth. People rarely remember your exact words. What they do remember is how you carried yourself, how you made them feel, and how steady or shaky you were in that moment. Your response is not only about content, it's about delivery. The words matter less than the energy behind them. Imagine someone asking you a tough question in a meeting. Two people could give the exact same answer word for word, but one sounds unsure, apologetic, hesitant, while the other sounds calm, grounded, and composed. Same words, different impression. Why? Because the way they responded shaped how the room saw them. Confidence isn't about what comes out of your mouth. It's about what comes through your presence. Your tone, your posture, your eye contact, your pacing, your calmness. All of that carries more weight than the vocabulary you choose. Think about when you meet someone who seems comfortable in their own skin. They don't rush their words. They don't fill the silence with nervous chatter. They don't crumble under pressure when things get uncomfortable. And because of that, you feel like you can trust them. You might not even remember what they said, but you remember thinking, that person knows what they're doing. That impression is built not on word choice, but on how they respond. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they want to appear confident is overcompensating with words. They feel the need to prove themselves, to keep talking, to pile on explanation after explanation, hoping that more words equal more credibility. But what happens? The opposite. The more we ramble, the less certain we sound. The more we talk, the more we reveal our nervousness. It's not the flood of words that convinces people. It's the strength behind fewer, clearer, calmer ones. Sometimes the most powerful response is the simplest one, delivered with conviction. Consider moments of conflict. Someone criticizes you, challenges you, or pushes your buttons. Your instinct might be to defend yourself immediately, to fire back with arguments, to prove them wrong on the spot. But often, the people who walk away respected in those situations are not the ones who won with facts. They're the ones who stayed composed under fire. They didn't let their emotions hijack their tone. They didn't match anger with anger. Instead, they responded with clarity, calmness, and control. That's when others notice and say, "Wow, they handled that well." They might forget the words you used, but they won't forget the strength you showed. The same applies in leadership. When a leader speaks, their team doesn't just hear instructions. They watch their tone, their body language, their calmness under stress. If a leader panics, the team feels panic. If a leader stays calm, the team feels grounded. That's why the way you respond carries more influence than the actual content. Because your response creates the emotional temperature of the room. People are emotional interpreters first, logical interpreters second. They absorb your presence before they process your words. Confidence in response is not about memorizing scripts. It's about training yourself to show up consistently with composure. That means slowing down your pace when your heart wants to speed up. It means keeping your tone even when your emotions want to spike. It means pausing long enough to gather your thoughts instead of blurting something you'll regret. And it means reminding yourself in real time that the pressure of the moment does not define you. The steadiness of your response does. Think about interviews. A candidate is asked a tough question they didn't prepare for. One candidate panics, their words tumble out fast, their eyes dart, and even if they eventually land on a decent answer, the impression left behind is that they were unsteady. Another candidate hears the same question, takes a breath, looks the interviewer in the eye, and says, "That's a great question. Let me think about that for a moment." Then they answer, maybe not perfectly, but calmly. Which candidate seems more trustworthy? The one who bought a second of silence and answered with presence. The words themselves might not even matter as much as the fact that they carried themselves with control. That's the power of response. Even in personal relationships, the way you respond can strengthen or damage trust far more than the exact phrasing you use. When someone you care about expresses frustration or disappointment, the instinct may be to defend yourself immediately, to prove your side, to use words to fix the problem. But often, what people want most is not the perfect sentence. They want presence. They want to feel heard. They want to feel like you can handle their emotion without breaking down or lashing out. A calm response like, "I hear what you're saying. Let's talk about it," carries more healing power than the most eloquent speech. Here's another angle. Think about silence as part of your response. We live in a world where silence in conversation feels uncomfortable, like a gap that needs to be filled. But confident people use silence as a tool. They pause before answering, and that pause adds weight to their words. It tells the listener, "I am not rushing, I am considering." And that presence creates authority. People lean in to hear what you'll say next. Silence, when owned, is one of the most powerful parts of your response, and it has nothing to do with word choice. The way you respond also sets the tone for how others treat you moving forward. If you respond defensively to criticism, people learn that you're fragile. If you respond calmly to conflict, people learn that you're strong. If you respond with steady confidence when you don't know something, people learn that you can be trusted even in uncertainty. Over time, these patterns of response build your reputation, and your reputation is not built on single perfect sentences. It's built on how you consistently show up under pressure. Another powerful truth is that the way you respond teaches people how to communicate with you. If every time someone disagrees with you, you get angry or shut down, they'll eventually stop bringing you honest feedback. If instead you respond with openness, even if you don't agree, they'll feel safe engaging with you. This applies in workplaces, families, friendships, and even with strangers. The way you respond signals to others what kind of space you create. Calm, confident responses invite trust. Reactive, defensive responses push it away. And it's not just about how others see you. It's about how you see yourself. Every time you respond calmly in a situation where you might have once panicked, you build evidence for yourself that you are capable, steady, and strong. You start to rewrite the story in your head that says, "I fall apart under pressure," and replace it with, "I can handle pressure with composure." Over time, that becomes your identity. The way you respond doesn't just shape how the world sees you, it reshapes how you see yourself. This is why preparation for confidence is not about scripting every possible answer. It's about practicing presence. Practice slowing your breathing when you feel nervous. Practice pausing before responding. Practice lowering your tone slightly when you feel it rising. Practice making eye contact even when you feel uncertain. These small practices add up, and soon your natural response becomes one of calm authority. And when that happens, people notice, not because of the words you chose, but because of the way you showed up. Think of the people throughout history who are remembered for their leadership, their influence, their ability to move others. Yes, some of their words were powerful, but often it was the way they delivered them that made them unforgettable. Their calm under pressure, their steadiness when others wavered, their ability to respond to chaos with clarity. That is what left a mark, and that same principle applies to every single one of us in our everyday lives. The next time you're in a tough conversation, remember this: the room is not grading your vocabulary, they are absorbing your energy. They are not focused on whether you chose the absolute perfect word, they are focused on whether you seemed grounded. They are not waiting for you to prove how much you know. They are watching to see if you can hold yourself steady when you don't know. Because people trust presence more than they trust perfection. They follow steadiness more than they follow certainty. And they are drawn to those who can remain calm, confident, and composed, regardless of the situation.